You can lose a decent amount of weight and still have belly fat, and a lot of people find that incredibly frustrating because they're doing the work, but that midsection just isn't budging the way they expected. Here's why that happens. Abdominal fat isn't just one thing. There's the fat you can pinch under the skin, called subcutaneous fat, and then there's the fat that sits deeper, packed around your internal organs, called visceral fat. And that's the fat that really matters when we're talking about health, because visceral fat is what drives type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, heart disease, and it's even been linked to certain cancers. It's not just a cosmetic issue, it's a health issue. I'm Dr. Kabir Haricharan Singh, a physician who is board certified in both family and obesity medicine. And the good news I want to start with today is that visceral fat, as dangerous as it is also the most responsive fat in your body once you know how to target it. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. The foods, the drinks, and the type of exercise that specifically go after visceral fat. Before we get further into it, here's a quick disclaimer. Even though I'm a doctor, I'm not your doctor. This is educational information only, not personal medical advice. Always discuss decisions about your health with your own doctor. Let's start here. What you eat every day is either feeding your visceral fat or starving it. One of the most powerful and underappreciated tools against visceral fat is a group of compounds called carotenoids. These are the natural pigments found in colorful plants. They're what make carrots orange, tomatoes red, and spinach that deep green. But they're more than just color. They're potent antioxidants. That's important because so much of what drives visceral fat accumulation is chronic inflammation and metabolic disruption. Carotenoids help by neutralizing free radicals, unstable molecules that damage your cells and promote fat storage. But they go even further than that because they can actually influence gene expression, turning on genes that promote fat burning and turning down the ones that signal your body to store fat. There's a well-designed randomized controlled trial done in Japan that looks specifically at this. After just 8 weeks of eating carotenoid-rich vegetables, the participants saw meaningful reductions in visceral fat, regardless of which specific carotenoid they were consuming. So to make this simple, prioritize colorful fruits and vegetables in your diet. Things like carrots, bell peppers, onions, eggplants, squash, and tomatoes. If it's colorful, it's likely rich in carotenoids and it's working in your favor. If you have a favorite recipe that uses any of those foods, please let me know in the comments because I'm always trying to find ways to make new things to cook. And you never know when you're going to be on Chopped or Iron Chef. Moving on to drinks now, you've probably heard that green tea burns fat, and I know that can sound like really good marketing for a wellness product, but in this case, the science actually holds up. Green tea is rich in compounds called catechins, which are a type of antioxidant that directly influences how your body processes fat, and they work in a few different ways. First, they stimulate your body to burn more fat for energy by boosting fat oxidation. Second, they inhibit certain enzymes involved in fat absorption, so some of the fat you eat doesn't get absorbed in the first place. And finally, the caffeine naturally present in the green tea works alongside the catechins to enhance those effects. If you want to maximize the benefit, choose minimally processed green teas like matcha or sencha, which tend to have higher catechin content. Now, I want to be clear, no single food or drink is the magic bullet that's going to do the heavy lifting on its own. But when you're already working towards a calorie deficit, targeting the right foods and drink help you get there faster and more efficiently. Once your nutrition is dialed in, the right exercise helps amplify this. Diet has a larger effect on overall weight loss, but exercise tends to have a superior and more specific effect on visceral fat reduction, which means exercise targets that dangerous fat more directly than dieting alone. Here's something that surprised me when I was researching ways to improve my own health. I came across a study that found that just 2 45-minute cycling sessions per week at a moderate intensity reduced visceral fat by 48% in 2 months. That's almost half of the visceral fat decreasing in just 8 weeks of exercise twice a week. And on top of that, insulin sensitivity improved by 41%. So here's the part that's really important for anyone who gets discouraged by the scale. In that study, total body weight barely changed, but the composition of their body changed dramatically, which brings up an important point. The scale is a poor predictor and measure of progress. It doesn't show you what's happening to your body composition, and it can really mislead you when you're actually making meaningful improvements. Interestingly, vigorous aerobic exercise and high-intensity interval training, HIIT, are the most effective for specifically reducing visceral fat. But don't forget that resistance training is still beneficial because it's essential for maintaining muscle mass and overall metabolic health. So if losing visceral fat quickly is the priority over the next few months, lean into your cardio. Between HIIT and steady state aerobic exercise, the research shows that they're actually pretty comparable for most adults. So the decision really comes down to what you'll actually do consistently. And that's the point I want to emphasize. That textbook perfect HIIT protocol that you dread doing and skip half the time will always lose out to a brisk walk or a dance class that you genuinely enjoy doing and show up to several times a week, because consistency is what matters the most. The goal is at least 2 to 3 sessions per week and at least 45 minutes each at a moderate to vigorous intensity. If you don't want to track your heart rate to figure out the intensity of your workout, I recommend using the talk test. Moderate intensity is when you can speak in full sentences and sound a little winded, and vigorous is when you can only get a few words out before needing to catch your breath. One more thing worth knowing is that the effects of exercise on visceral fat are dose dependent. The more you do, the more you benefit, but that's actually not true for restricting calories, where you hit a ceiling and can actually stop seeing additional benefits. With exercise, there's no ceiling, and you can keep stepping it up and keep seeing results. Okay, here's the bottom line. You don't need to starve yourself to lose belly fat. In fact, that's often counterproductive. What you need is a modest calorie deficit, a focus on colorful, carotenoid-rich foods, some green tea, if you enjoy it, and a consistent exercise habit that targets your heart rate several times a week. Remember, visceral fat is dangerous, but it's also very responsive. And when you understand what's actually driving it, you can go after it directly. Stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.